Hey everyone, my name is Dan Meyer, and I am the founder of Sonic Virtual Assistant or Sonic VA, a virtual staffing agency based here in the Philippines, primarily serving American small business clients. Several of our clients are real estate agents, and we get a lot of requirements for different things. Some real estate agents want videos edited, some want graphics for their social media, some want social media management, some want list building. But we're seeing whatever they want, we're seeing a big change in real estate as a whole in the US the last year or so. So I thought it would be important to talk about that tonight. Kind of what are the trends in US real estate? Now, these trends are applicable across the globe. Pretty much anywhere where you're a VA for, even here in the Philippines, you'll find some trending that's happening, financial trending, political trending, things that are impacting the real estate market. So we'll talk about a few of those things tonight. As I mentioned before, I'm the president and founder of Sonic VA. I want to introduce my co-host tonight. So Shay, do you want to introduce yourself real quick?
Hi everyone, my name is Shay. I am a virtual assistant and a digital nomad. I'm based in the Philippines and I've been a virtual assistant for more or less 5 years now. And it's really an honor to be co-hosting along with Boss Dan in today's live webinar. And we are so lucky to have him speak about one of the hottest industries for virtual assistants, and that is the real estate industry.
Cool. All right. So I do have a PowerPoint that I'm going to cover. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we're going to jump back and forth from the PowerPoint to the group here, especially when Shay and I are having conversations back and forth. We want to do more than just have you stare at a screen all night. So let me start, though, with the presentation. So tonight, we're going to talk about how to land American clients, and the focus is on the real estate market for Filipino virtual assistants. And so the idea here is we're going to talk about really what are the trends, what's happening in the US right now that's impacting the real estate industry, that Filipino virtual assistants should know about, because it's going to impact your ability to attract clients, to maintain clients, to look for new clients. And it's one of the top industries that Filipino virtual assistants do to support American clients. And I know, Shay, you've had some experience. Do you want to talk real quick about what you've done when it comes to real estate for American clients?
Yes, sure. So I started working for a realtor when the pandemic happened. So I think that that was like my first client, and I was assigned to do like real estate stuff, cold calling, database management. And then because the market was down at the time, I wasn't able to keep the job because they like declared bankruptcy. But then around last year, I was also hired by another real estate company based in California. And what I did was mostly just database management. But I also did a little bit of social media management on the side, which is primarily my niche. So, yeah, pretty much that has been my experience with real estate and the real estate industry. Could you please shed some light on like the real estate American landscape?
Yeah, so that's what we're going to talk about tonight, right? So we really have, and this is again our background, real quick. There's Shay and I. So basically, we're going to talk about the following four topics, right? So topic number one is navigating the American real estate landscape. So that's what we'll talk about first. Let's talk about essential skills and tools for real estate VAs. And then we're going to go into talking about building trust and establishing strong relationships. Real estate is still an industry that thrives on trust. It thrives on relationship building. So we'll talk about the importance of these soft skills. And then we'll kind of wrap up talking about tips and best practices for Filipino VAs in real estate. So things that you should be able to do. So we'll talk about the background. We'll talk about the tools. We'll talk about the soft skills. And we'll talk about where things are going. So to get started, we'll talk about the real estate industry. As Shay mentioned, we want to provide an overview of the market. And so I think the best way to think of the market in the US is it's changed dramatically for many reasons. One of them is the entrance into the real estate market from corporate investors that are buying up homes. So traditionally, up until the last couple of years, most homes in the U.S. were bought and sold by a real estate agent, by a buyer or seller with a real estate agent helping them, being the middleman. So I want to put my house in the market. I want to move across the country. I want to buy a new house. I hire a real estate agent in both places to help me sell my house and help me to buy a new house. And in that real estate agent, they could be from any number of brands that you probably heard of, some like Century 21, like Remax. There's this hundreds and hundreds of real estate agencies. There are agencies that buy and sell homes, but they're not big corporate investment businesses. That's changed. There are things popping up all over the US, and I'll give you an example of one called 72 Sold, where it's basically hedge fund money, investment money, corporate money that normally would be invested into businesses that are buying up homes and then flipping them into rentals. So instead of it being a homeowner selling their home to another homeowner and then buying a home from a homeowner, now you have the homeowner sells it to a corporation, and the corporation decides, do I want to sell it or do I want to keep it on the books and rent it out? And so it's causing a dynamic shift. And then this is a big challenge. So a lot of the reason why you're seeing real estate industry kind of shrink as an opportunity for Filipino VAs are the entrance of these companies like 72 Sold. You're also seeing a tightening of credit. So credit was easy to get a couple years ago, pre-COVID. And then during COVID, people stopped working. They had health problems. There's a lot of reasons why money got tighter. The U.S. government sunk a lot of money, and other company or countries like the Philippines sunk money into programs to help restart the economy. And as it happened, that caused inflation. And real quick, economy 101 stuff, when you have inflation, central banks, the governments decide that the best way to fight inflation is to raise credit, make it tighter for people to have money so that things will, in effect, be harder to get. And then the scarcity will cause inflation to go down. So credit, which people would use to buy a home, they'll take out a loan, is more expensive now. So you have the interest of these corporations and you have the credit crunch. And both of those are really kind of hurting the real estate market. So the real estate landscape right now, it's still hot in some areas. In fact, I'll go on to the next slide and show you the hottest areas in the US for real estate are mostly in the South. And they're mostly where people are migrating to. So it used to be in the West, right? So for most of the pre-COVID area, people were investing in California, investing in Arizona, investing in Washington, Utah, Nevada. And they still are, but more and more people are moving from the north to the south on the East Coast. Like they're going from New York and Ohio and Michigan, and they're moving to Florida and Texas and Georgia. So a little bit of landscape there. And you want to kind of keep track of these trends, right? So you should follow a blogger, an influencer. You should probably pay attention to what's happening in the U.S. economy on occasion. Maybe you want to subscribe to a service that will give you information. But the bottom line is things are always moving, right? So you have to stay current. And this, what I show you today, the hottest real estate markets in 2023 will be different in 2024 because credit will change, because more companies will get involved. Things are just in flux. It's no longer just one real estate agent hiring a virtual assistant to compete against other real estate agents. It's now a different market. So I hope that kind of gives you a bit of the landscape. I don't know, Shay, did you have any questions or any feedback based on that so far?
Yes, I agree when you mentioned that, the market is not consistently, it consistently changes. And I think one of the factors was the introduction of the hybrid or the work from home setup. I think that has affected the real estate or the American real estate highly or greatly in terms of the fact that it has been impacting where people choose to live. So many home buyers in the US are looking for properties with extra space for home offices, but there are also other people who are declining to sell their homes. So that is also like a factor as to why real estate is somehow fluctuating or at some point is not as hot as it used to be. So
Absolutely.
that has contributed to the changes.
Yeah, I think that another thing that has happened is that when you go to look at what real estate used to do, right? So real estate agent, what they used to do, which was they would get a listing, they would post it on social media, then people would share it. So the VA's involvement would be helping to build the list. The VA's involvement would be to be the ones to share on social media. But it's gotten more virtual. A lot of real estate agents don't ever actually have to go show the home anymore. A lot of people buy homes online without ever actually setting foot in the house. And so you're seeing a new opportunity for people to do video editing, right? So a lot of real estate agents are doing more either 3D or AR or just taking video on their phone and having a VA edit it to be able to showcase a home. You're also seeing that there's a lot of VAs out there that used to do the social media management, just basically, trying to like come up with some good posts and sharing it, different things about the area, the demographics, the geographics of where the home is available. But now you have everyone using tools that do all that for you, that can automate that posting. So artificial intelligence and automation is also something that's new to the game. So really, the landscape is just not what it used to be, and I think that's the most important thing I want you guys to realize tonight. Is that COVID changed it, and then the financial response to COVID has changed it again. So if you were a real estate agent, VA, 3, 4 years ago, I'm sure you would agree that it's a different world now. And the ones that are adapting, the ones that are successful, the ones that can do video editing, can do know how to use AI tools. A lot of real estate agents don't like having to use tools to do the automation. They want to hire someone to do it. They want to delegate that task, even though it's supposed to make it easier for them. They don't like technology. It's complex. So they'll hire a VA to manage their whatever tool they're using. So you're seeing a lot of change there. And I think that's really, in a nutshell, where we're at with the landscape right now. I think we could talk more about this at the end. So if anybody has any questions about kind of what the current landscape in the US is, feel free to drop them in the chat, or at the end we can have a Q&A about those. So let's move on to the next section. I'll let you, Shay, take over and introduce this one. Let me just set it up.
Yes, our second segment for this webinar, we are going to be talking about the essential skills and tools. So this is for the side of the virtual assistant. So Boss Dan, what do you see are the key skills virtual assistants need in today's real estate market? And why do you think American real estate companies prefer Filipino virtual assistants to work for them?
Okay, so I'll talk about the second one first, right? So one of the essential skills that Filipino virtual assistants have, that I think is important to keep highlighting, is a unique situation the Philippines is in as far as it's a workforce that's tech savvy, that speaks in American style English. And the Philippine real estate market is very similar to the US real estate market as far as how broker dealers work and how real estate agents have been trained and groomed and how properties are showcased. So it's unlike a lot of other parts of Asia, where the English isn't as strong, where they don't have the same type of real estate background. So it's a good place to be if you're a Filipino VA looking to work with American clients. The key, though, is to stay current. Because, like I said, if you want to do what you did a couple years ago, it's not going to work anymore. And one of the ways that's changed is the number of tools, right? So there are so many CRMs or customer relationship management softwares that are out there that people can use. The number one by far, the market leader, is Zillow. And this is where people can post homes. Either a real estate agent can do it or a individual person can do it. Mostly it's real estate agents posting homes. And then there's a whole bunch of tools. There's a whole suite of tools that allow you to post and set up appointments and to do virtual viewings and to prepare the documents. All the things that a VA would do can be done in these apps. And so if you have not yet started learning into these tools, there's just a bunch here that I threw out there. There are hundreds more, and it's always changing. But if you're brand new to this, if you're a Filipino virtual assistant who wants to put your toe in the water of real estate, or if you are new to being a VA and you don't know where to start, study Zillow, right? Go to look at their website, check out their YouTube channel, and you'll start getting a sense of what they do because they're the market leader. And then basically there are just a million tools to be a real estate VA. If we go to the next slide, I just did a quick, I asked Chat GPT, hey, Chat GPT, if I'm a Filipino virtual assistant supporting American real estate agents, what are some of the tools I need to know about? And it gave me all these, which is crazy. Um, but I don't know, Shay, if you look at this list, it's realistic, right? I mean, to be a real estate VA, you got to know a little bit of everything, right?
Yes, I think in my experience, I've ventured into a lot of different industries, but I would say that real estate is one of the hardest I've I've had like an experience or a task on, especially because there are a lot of systems that you need to get familiar with. I remember when I was working as a database manager and I would need to update systems. Every Monday, I have a different system to update, which is HomeLight. Every Tuesday, it's a different system. And then they have like a main CRM that they're using. And then you also need to have access on Dropbox. And you need to like get familiar with all of them because realtors do not have the time to train you. So you have to be able to train yourself in getting familiar with those like tools.
Right.
So yeah, hard.
Yeah, I think you said a very important thing. You know, you have to be willing to train yourself. There's a disconnect for a lot of people that want to be a virtual assistant in the Philippines. If you haven't done it yet or haven't been successful at being a VA, you're going to find a big learning curve, and the learning's on you, right? So you're not going to get hired by a company that's going to train you. There's not going to be any onboarding. There's not going to be any systems training. There's not going to be any kind of period where you're on probation, just learning the ropes. There's not going to be a team lead to be able to ask questions. In most cases, 90 something percent of the cases, it's you and the real estate agent. And they're going to be able to give you a couple hours a week at the most of their time to help show you quickly how they use a system like Zillow or Salesforce. Maybe they can record a Loom video for you real quick about how they want something done. But you're going to have to spend some of your time unpaid to learn these systems. So one of the barriers to entry for Filipino VAs into the real estate market, especially the US real estate market, is you have to be up to speed on a lot of these tools. And even if you don't know every tool, you have to have the concepts down, right? So you want to be able to understand how to do things like, be able to edit software or use editing software to be able to build a staging or a virtual tour video. You have to be able to use Canva. You have to be able to understand how to post on social media using apps like Zillow or Realtor.com or Redfin or Hootsuite or Buffer. So there's just a lot of things to learn, right? So there are other industries that may be easier to enter, but why this one is so attractive is because successful real estate agents constantly need help because there's no slow period. It's not seasonal when people want to buy or sell a home. It's pretty much always happening. So when you get a good gig as a real estate VA, it generally lasts longer and generally pays better than a lot of other types of virtual assisting. So you don't have to learn all these. I don't want you guys to get nosebleed and freak out. But you do have to kind of become aware of most of these things. Like Shay said, in her experience, she had to self-train. And I tell this to a lot of our VAs is like, the client's going to give you a list of 4 or 5 apps that they use, and no two agents are going to use the exact same 4 or 5 apps. So you're going to have to be constantly updating yourself. Like I just heard of one yesterday. I had a client tell me a sales funnel builder called Go High Level. I'm like, I don't know what that is. So I had to look it up. It's like ClickFunnels or as a sales funnel builder, but every day there's a new app. So, and more so in real estate than in most industries.
I remember I had to get myself familiar with Sisu,
Mm.
SISU. It's a tool, a kind of CRM that they also use. So it's part of my job to update and like check on my tasks there, but I don't have any experience using the tool before. So what the realtor did, he just added me on a Facebook group that that does the interaction for Sisu. So that's where I learned how to navigate the tool. So yeah, it's mostly just going to be you and yourself in dealing with the tasks going to be assigned to you.
Yep. It's definitely like I said, it's more fulfilling. It pays better. and it usually has longer relationships than most types of VAs. So that's why people do it, but it's definitely harder and definitely harder as far as that entry barrier. So using the essential skills and tools is important. But let's switch gears. And again, if you have any questions, drop it into the chat and we'll get to those in a bit, or we'll have a Q&A at the end. We're about halfway through the presentation, so